Okay, hi. My name is Casey Kodarak, and I wanted to share a story with you today. Last summer, I worked at a summer camp as a counselor. I was chosen to be a counselor for a sports camp for a week. There were specialty camps there, so there were different things that you would do besides general camp. The group of kids that I had was primarily boys, and my co counselor was also male. Since the whole week consisted of teaching a different sport every day, there was definitely some conflict due to the competitiveness between the kids. My co counselor had been working at the camp for 2 years, and it was only my first summer there. Once we started teaching the activities, he stopped me when I tried to help and told me that he could handle teaching the sports, and I should just stick to calming down the kids when they get upset. This statement really took me off guard, and because in my head we were supposed to be equals, teaching the kids together. But since he'd been working there longer, I figured he knew more than me, so I just complacently did what he asked. As the summer went on, I realized that the way he had treated me wasn't right. But until I took the sociology class, I didn't realize that it was called social inequality, or more specifically, gender inequality. The situation constituted social inequality because my co counselor used gender in his assumptions of what I was capable of. He decided that I was only good for comforting the kids and that he was responsible for teaching the sports, simply because I'm female. He wasn't just being mean, he was using his gender as a male to try to categorize me and control my behavior through stereotypes. His assumption that I would do as he said is a good example of his knowledge of his social prestige. Social prestige is a level of respect or adoration for your position from the people around you. Since he had more seniority than me, he knew that I, along with others, would listen to him out of respect for the amount of time he had been there. He took advantage of this situation and his power to get what he wanted. He was able to get away with committing gender inequality to limit what I was able to do. Also, a large amount of staff there was also female, like me, and he knew he could control them in the same way, for the same reasons. But it was not only that, but that men have always been seen as much more capable when it came to sports. So, due to sexual scripts, the way that he acted set him above me in athletic ability because that is how men have always been seen. While, on the other hand, women have always been seen as those that are best at taking care of children. Sexual scripts are behaviors and responses learned to guide them when in encounters with others. His behavior is partially due to what he had learned when he was raised, but that does not make it right. He decided for me and used his authority to keep me within the box that he thought was right for me as a female, and to give him the opportunity to do what he believed he was entitled to as a male. Social inequality is something that is easily normalized because people do not know how to change it, and they often are so used to things the way that they've always been that they don't know what to change. Sexual scripts remain a big part of why social inequality is normalized and why people don't challenge it. They don't know any other way. They are raised within those scripts and ideals, certain ways to think of and treat one another. For generations, men have been seen as superior to women, and though that has gotten better through the years, it can still remain a problem, especially when it comes to positions of authority. People choose to keep things the same because it is easier to maintain their ideals for others. The symbolic interactions theory focuses on how social inequality is communicated and shaped through social interactions. It focuses on the roles of superiority and inferiority and the effect that they have on people. In my situation, the other counselor thought that he was superior because he was male, and used my role as a female to distinguish my abilities, and he deemed that I was only good for childcare. I responded to the situation to the way that I did because I don't think I completely realize that it was wrong at the time. When he told me that my role was to take care of the kids when they got upset, and that he would teach the sport, I was offended but didn't think to confront him about it because he had seniority at the camp over me. I didn't believe it was my place to question what he was telling me. I also didn't say anything because the kids are around and it's important to me to maintain a certain environment when they're there. I also think my response had a lot to do with the context of the situation, which also has an effect on why people don't challenge inequality. The context is a larger social setting where a person lives their life, which also presents the opportunities and barriers in which they may succeed. We have grown up in a time where only male sports are celebrated or really attended. So when I was told by my co-counselor that he would teach the sports, I agreed in part because men in sports go together and are much more recognized than females in sports. I also thought that as a female, I couldn't stand against him because he was my superior and his boss was also male. If he told him that I contradicted him that could have prevented from me at succeeding at the job. This is the same as why people do not challenge inequality. They want to succeed in their context or their larger social setting, but challenging what is normal could possibly prevent that. People often make sacrifices to get where they want to go, and that was one of the reasons I responded why I did. In hindsight, I definitely think I could have responded to this situation differently. I am a lot more knowledgeable now and believe I could have handled it in an effective and reasonable manner. I should not have been as intimidated by the fact that he was my superior. I should have spoken to him in private about how I was feeling. I played a lot of sports growing up and knew quite a bit about them. I could have told him how much I enjoyed sports because he could have simply assumed I didn't like them. I could have asked him what his favorites were and suggest that we split the teaching and work with the kids equally so that it was more balanced. I let him win by simply agreeing to what he told me to do. By doing this, I enabled him to use social inequality based on gender to decide that I was only capable of helping with the kids. By standing up to his assumptions on day one in a calm manner, the week could have gone much smoother, and it is probable that the outcome would have been very different. Lastly, the structure of society has a large influence on both mine and my co-counselor's actions. He was acting based off of learned behaviors and stereotypes of women. In this case, his agency was not successful because he stayed within the bounds of the normalized structure in his words and his actions. My initial response was the same, since I just went along with what he wanted. But if I could have responded differently, I would have used my agency to contradict the structure and resolve the situation in a different way.